On the news, lawmakers resolve to appeal judgment on deletion of Section 8412 of newly signed Electoral Act. Federal government approves 92.12 billion naira for second Abuja Airport runway project. And President Buhari meets APC governors over party crisis, 3 days to convention. Glad to have you join us on News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Lawmakers in the Senate and House of Representatives have resolved to appeal the judgment which directed the Attorney General of the Federation, AGF, to delete Section 8412 of the newly signed Electoral Act, coming under Order 42 of the Senate Standing Orders on Personal Explanation. Thompson Sekibo, Senator representing PDP Rivers East during plenary, challenged the judgment of the court. Sekibo explained that the National Assembly is empowered by virtue of its provisions to make laws for the peace, order and good governance of Nigeria. For members in the lower chamber, the clause in question is directed at political appointees and not civil servants. They insisted that the court pass a judgment on a matter which was not included in the Electoral Act passed by the National Assembly.
The Senate believes that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria should show concern on the judgment, especially when she was not given opportunity to represent herself in a matter such as this that emanates from her legitimate functions. The Senate finally believes further that letting the judgment to go without concern will become a precedent on which any person could go to the court and obtain judgment to ridicule the good intentions of the National Assembly as an institution. For the court to set aside the judgment, as the judgment was reached without due consideration of the conventional interpretation in Section 318 of the 1999 Constitution as amended.
The content of the motion is straightforward, is clear enough, and the resolution sought is also clear enough. And therefore, on the basis of this, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I want to urge that without much ado, I invite and request humbly that my colleagues do consider this motion as submitted and to say that we ask that the question be put for us to consider the prayers.
Well, joining me to discuss this further is legal practitioner Liberus Oshoma. Thank you very much for your time. Now, Justice Evelyn Anyadike in a judgment held that the section of the Act was unconstitutional and has no effect whatsoever. But going by the argument of the National Assembly, they say the court passed a judgment on the matter which was not included in the Electoral Act passed by the National Assembly. What do you make of this?
Yeah, thank you, Folashade. Like I have said before now, the sections that the judge relied on does not cover the issue that the National Assembly actually legislated on. The judge relied on a section that talks about civil servants and the resignation of civil servants at least 1 month before election. This section 8212, it's talking about political appointees for the purpose of primaries in political party and has nothing to do with contesting for election. The court also have heard that civil servants are different from public appointees. So to that extent, the Constitution has not made adequate provisions for political appointees, and which is what this Electoral Act amendment sought to do. So I am completely in support of the National Assembly joining the suit as a party and then appealing the judgment. that will give the court the opportunity to robustly look at all of the issues and arguments for and against, excuse me, and take a decisive decision on it. And it's a welcome development. And if the National Assembly had not appealed this decision, then it means that there is something actually fishy. Because also I'm of the view that in the first place, the National Assembly that made the law, like the Senator rightly said, ought to have been joined as a party in the matter.
Now, how will the judgment, either for or against the lawmakers, shape the relationship between the executive and the legislature?
It basically had nothing to do. It is not a personal thing. It's not a personal issue. It's about development of electoral laws. So nobody should look at it from the prism of whether the National Assembly, has issues with the executive. They must not, for the interest of democracy, kowtow to the dictate of the executive always. What is at the core of this issue is the functions of both organs of government, agency of government. The National Assembly, it's their duty to make laws. Why the executive is to execute the law made, and then the judge's duty is to interpret. So what basically is playing out here is that there seems to be conflict and misunderstanding. And so it is better for that matter to be exhausted at the highest court by all parties concerned. So it's instead of just having a situation where some persons will sneak, in agreement to the court to find them, a way of deceiving the other party. That's basically what is happening. I don't think it will affect, the relationship between both parties, because between both organs of government or agencies of government, but basically to strengthen democracy, and we'll take it up from there.
Well, indeed, legal practitioner Ali Barroso Shoma, thank you very much for your contribution. The Federal Executive Council, FEC, has approved 92.123 billion naira for the construction of a second runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. In 2015, the sum of 63.5 billion naira was approved for the project. The cost has, however, been reviewed upwards by 28.6 billion naira to 92.123 billion naira. Announcing the development on Wednesday in Abuja, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, explained that the fund will be spread over a number of works to be carried out at the Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport. He further disclosed that the project will be delivered in the next 12 months. The 92.123 billion naira approval for the construction of a second runway at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport comes shortly after President Muhammadu Buhari's commissioning of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport Terminal 2. At the event held in Lagos on Tuesday, President Buhari said the terminal would go a long way in contributing to the social, political and economic fortunes of the country. Our correspondent, Mojisola Matami, has the details in this report.
Built in partnership with the government and the People's Republic of China, the new international wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport lies on a landmass of approximately 56,000 square meters with 60 sets of check-in counters designed to handle 14 million passengers in a year. President Muhammadu Buhari, Governor of Lagos State Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika, and other dignitaries are yet to commission this world-class terminal. Just before the official commissioning of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport Terminal 2, President Buhari says the completion of the new terminal would create more jobs for qualified Nigerians, especially the youth. The president also ordered the Minister of Aviation to fast-track the planned concession of the 4 major airports in the country and asked the Ministry of Finance to source funds for the immediate construction of a second runway for the Abuja airport.
This administration decided to prioritize the completion and delivery of 5 brand new international terminals, a national carrier, maintenance, repairs and overhaul center, and improved airport terminals through concession to boost aviation practice and take the industry to the next level, reflecting global standards.
In his address, the Minister of Aviation declared that the overall goal of the ministry is to improve the aviation sector's contributions from its present 0.06% to 5% in the next few years. He also requested the support of the central bank through the directives of the president to aid access of both local and foreign airlines to foreign exchange.
In June 2020, showcases the significant contribution of air transportation to the national economy through providing 241,000 jobs, direct and indirect, and a contribution of 1.7 billion to the national economy. In the same vein, IATA projects the air transport market in Nigeria is focused under the current trend scenario to grow by 174% in the next 20 years.
An MOU was signed between the Lagos State Government and the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria to end traffic gridlock on the Lagos-Abeokuta Expressway.
The partnership between the Lagos State Government and FAN, representing the Ministry of Aviation, is also something that we are really proud and happy to also be part of. Because what we're about to do is about opening up, other alternative roads that will bring people onto this airport, that will make communication and that will make journey time into this airport, an experience that will be delightful and it will be enjoyable to each and every one of us.
After the cutting of the tape, the president, accompanied by the state governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu and other dignitaries, took a tour of the terminal. This terminal, which is the third to be commissioned under President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, will serve as a relief to airport users who have frequently complained about the management of the old terminal, which has been in existence for over 40 years. Mojisola Matomi, TV360, Lagos.
President Muhammadu Buhari is holding a closed-door meeting with the governors of the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, at the presidential villa in Abuja. The governors, operating under the aegis of the Progressive Governors Forum, were led to the meeting by their chairman, Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu. They arrived at the presidential villa after the Federal Executive Council meeting earlier chaired by the president. The meeting is reportedly convened towards reaching a consensus ahead of Saturday's national convention of the ruling party, following signs of disagreements among party stakeholders over the choice of personalities allegedly endorsed by the president. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has formally declared his intention to run for presidency in 2023. He declares his intention to contest the 2023 presidential election at the International Conference Center in Abuja on Wednesday. If elected, Atiku promised to focus on unity, security, economy, education, and devolving more resources and powers to the federation units. He also expressed optimism of the PDP's chances of winning at the polls.
I want to thank you all for believing in our vision. I want to thank you all for your bravery. Despite the disappointment in the last election, you still believe that this time around it is possible. I have listened to your brave voices. Beyond the words coming out of your mouths, I could imagine your frustrations, yet you are hopeful. I admire you greatly for choosing hope over despair. I know why you are doing this. You are doing this because you believe something good is possible and is coming to Nigeria. That is why I am happy to announce my candidacy for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria under the platform of the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria.
In Lagos, fires gutted some sections of the popular Akpongbo market at the Ebute-Eru area of the state. The blaze, which reportedly started at around 2 a.m. on Wednesday morning, quickly spread to other shops. The fire also damaged part of the Akpongbo bridge, disrupting vehicular movement on the highway. Meanwhile, residents say emergency responders helped in putting out the fire.
The last started around 1 a.m. I never see. There's something the community can do over it. You can see. It's a great disaster. Even the bridge might collapse from any moment from now.
in the early hours of this morning. So I just heard that there's a fire outbreak in my area, and since we have been here since that time, and all the firefighters they tried their best, and as you can see, the fire is still raging on. I can see that we have butter and oily product. I think that is the cause of the fire. No life loss.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, black box of crashed China Eastern jet recovered. Details of this story and more right after this break.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
Wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Welcome back. Now here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. Lawmakers in the Senate and House of Representatives have resolved to appeal the judgment which directed the Attorney General of the Federation to delete Section 8412 of the newly signed Electoral Act. They insisted that the court pass the judgment on a matter which was not included in the Electoral Act passed by the National Assembly. We also told you that President Muhammadu Buhari is holding a closed-door meeting with the governors of the ruling All Progressives Congress at the presidential villa in Abuja. The meeting is reportedly convened towards reaching a consensus ahead of Saturday's national convention of the ruling party, following signs of disagreement among party stakeholders over the choice of personalities allegedly endorsed by the president. But in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Google Plus at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. U.S. biotech firm Moderna has said it is pursuing regulatory approval for its COVID vaccine in children aged 6 months to 6 years after the two-shot regimen was found to be safe and produce a strong immune response. Based on the firm's date, Moderna said it would submit authorization requests to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the European Medicines Agency and other global regulators in the coming weeks. The company did, however, find relatively low vaccine efficacy against infection with its trial taking place during the Omicron wave. Well, antibodies from a COVID-19 infection linger in most children for up to 7 months, even if they had no symptoms. This is according to a survey launched by the Texas Cares in October 2020 to track COVID-19 antibody status in children and adults over time. The survey further disclosed that while 96% of children who were infected with COVID-19 still had antibodies of at least 6 months later, 58% did not have infection-triggered antibodies at their third and final blood test. Well, we'll take another break here and return with more stories and business. Do stay with us.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On TV360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world. A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
TV360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Well, up next is business news and stock market review with Simisola Adigun. Over to you, Simi.
Thank you very much, Ade. Welcome to business. The Nigerian Central Bank has stated that its development financing intervention will continue to assist the nation's economic growth despite warnings by international financial institutions for it to slow down. Godwin Emefiele, the governor of the CBN, made this known while reading the communique after the inaugural Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja yesterday. Emefiele was responding to the IMF's recent Article 4 report on Nigeria, wherein the IMF encouraged the CBN to reduce its credit intervention programs because they are likely to generate market distortions in the long run.
In an environment where there is a tight fiscal space, where revenue shortfalls abound, and even government has to borrow, then I think it is just reasonable that central bank should step in to support the fiscal, to fill that space, not through grants, but through loans to our smallholder farmers, through loans to our small and medium enterprise businesses, through loans to our households, through loans to wake up our manufacturing industries that are dead. And I can say that in the last 2.5 years, we've done certainly more than 3 trillion naira, whether we like it or not. And IMF themselves agree that, for instance, the amount over 300 billion that we've disbursed to almost 1 million households helped to catalyze consumption expenditure that has helped Nigeria to turn positive in its GDP, even though GDP is still fragile and we still face vulnerabilities.
We'll take a short break and be back with stock market reports. Investors on the Nigerian Stock Exchange reversed losses from Tuesday, recording an increase of 0.02% to end bullish. The benchmark all-share index paired at 47,163 basis points, while current market capitalization still stands at 25.4 trillion naira. 104 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 16 gainers and 16 losers. CAP PLC and Learn Africa led the gainers group with a combined 21 naira 97 kobo. On the losers counter, we have FCMB and M Benefit ending trading with 3 naira 60 kobo. At the close of Wednesday's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 267 million volume of shares with a market value of 3.2 billion naira was traded in 4,099 deals. Now to our select global stocks. Inflation in the UK has hit a 30-year high amid warnings of much worse to come, causing a decline in the stock at 0.19%. U.S. Dow Jones stock markets also fell on Wednesday after trading rallied on Tuesday, ending in the losers' territory at 0.19%. Meanwhile, the Nikkei stock index ended Wednesday at its highest level in more than 2 months, surging 3% as exporters' issues advanced after the U.S. dollar rose above the 121 yen line for the first time in over 6 years. It ended in the gainers' territory at 3.00%. That's all on stock market reports. Back to you, Folashade.
Well, many thanks, Simi. And now the foreign scene, the United Nations has urged citizens across the world to stand united against racism and together build societies based on dignity, equality and solidarity. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said this in his address to commemorate the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade across the world on Wednesday. Guterres explained that even though slavery has been abolished several years ago, people of African descent continue to confront racist discrimination, marginalization and exclusion.
There is much that we know about the transatlantic trade in enslaved Africans. And today is a day we remember the crime against humanity, the unprecedented mass human trafficking, the degrading economic transactions and unspeakable human rights violations. But there is also much that we do not know, and today is a day we learn. Behind the facts and figures are millions of human stories, stories of untold suffering and pain, stories of families and communities ripped apart, but also stories of awe-inspiring courage and defiance against the cruelty of oppressors. We will never know every act of resistance, great or small, that slowly but surely triumphed over injustice, repression and enslavement. But these accounts are crucial to our understanding of a past whose most pernicious and persistent legacy continues to blight our present: racism. The International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and the Transatlantic Slave Trade is a time to learn about and reflect on such stories, to pay tribute to the millions of Africans who were torn from their homelands and communities, and to stand up in solidarity against racism everywhere.
A black box from the crashed China Eastern airliner was recovered on Wednesday as investigators try to piece together what made a jet carrying 132 passengers nosedive into a mountainside in southern China. The cause of the disaster is yet to be known, while aviation authorities have found no survivors from what is almost certain to be China's deadliest plane crash in nearly 30 years. Ahead of Friday's Ghana-Nigeria 2022 World Cup playoffs first leg match in Kumasi, Super Eagles coach Augustine Eguavoin has expressed satisfaction with the players' response in camp and training session, assuring that the team is ready to make the nation proud. Eguavoin, while speaking after the Super Eagles' first training session in Abuja ahead of their Kumasi trip, says that the injury concerns in the squad have been adequately taken care of. On his part, Samuel Chukwueze, who expressed delight to be a part of the team representing the country, says is optimistic about their performance in the upcoming game.
The boys are ready to go. The good thing is they are in season, so no injury worries. And fitness level is very high, and they're confident as well. Very satisfied with what we saw now for this first training section, 1 hour 15 minutes. This is not pre-season; they are in season, and 72 hours before a game, you start slowing it down. So we cannot train more than 2 sections more. If we do that, it will be suicidal.
I'm so happy to be part of this team, this great team. It's an honor to represent this country, and I think it's an opportunity to be in this midst of these great players and fantastic, talented players. So I think I'm very, very happy to be here. Yeah, the only bounce back we need to bounce back is just to win this qualifying match, the last game, to qualify to the World Cup, because it's every Nigerian dream to see their country participating in the World Cup. So I think the only bounce back we need is to just win and make our country proud.
And that's the size of our news bulletin. Thank you for watching. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Bye for now.